Talcott Parsons focuses on institutionalization, and that concept of institutionalization, which is a very, very important aspect in the social system. So to understand social system and to understand social actions, he is focusing on institutionalization. What is called this institutionalization as a concept? Institutionalization as the fundamental integrative mechanism of social system. Through institutionalization, social system is getting integrated. That means social system are in connections with each other, or tries to bound the entire system together. And the bounding the entire system together is called the process of institutionalization. And institutionalization is considered to be a process as well as part of structure. Clear? Institutionalization involves the processes as well as the structure. That means out of the structure and processes, institutionalizations are taking place, and through this institutionalization, social integration is taking place. And through this institutionalization, social structures are built. I'll give some examples by which maybe this particular aspects will be clear to you. But first point, you have to remember that institutionalization is an important concept to understand social system, as it is integrative aspect of social system. You know, as a functionalist, all the functionalists, not only Talcott Parsons, all the functionalists, they always focuses on integrational aspect of the society. The ultimate aim of society is to get the societal system in an integrated manner, by which the social system can function in a very effective manner, or in an ordered manner, by which you can get your needs fulfilled, or you can get your goal attained, like that way. So the point I'm trying to say, institutionalization is very important as far as Parsons is concerned, but it is linked with social system, it is also linked with social structure. If you are not getting the point, but let's think about, as I've said about institutionalizations, means there are many social processes, or there are many social happenings. These social happenings are slowly, it was started like a custom or traditions, but it has become an institutionalized. For example, celebrating Eid, for example, or celebrating Dasahara, for example, or it has started as a tradition, it has started as a customs, but later on it has become institutionalized, meaning thereby all the educational institutions are declared as holidays. For example, Ambedkar Jayanti was not a holiday, Gandhi Jayanti was a holiday, but now Government of India has announced Ambedkar Jayanti also will be holidays. Why? It was not part of the institutionalized process, but later on they realized that large chunk of the population of this country, those who love Dr. Ambedkar, they must be given some kind of respect, by which, so they declared Ambedkar Jayanti as holiday. Is this clear? That means these customs, these traditions, these beliefs and values, they are trying to become part of the institutions, meaning thereby it gets into the structure of the society, and it try to make the societal system integrated. So the point I'm giving how a particular issue or a particular happenings become institutionalized. While it has been become institutionalized, it is helpful to integrate the society, meaning thereby the people, those who are associated with such kind of feeling or such kind of faith, they will not feel isolated. No, they will not feel disintegrated. So they say that no, this is our government, and they also think about us, and they have also given representation to us. In political equations, of course, in Karnataka also, I think the Muslim people, they have demanded that we should go for Deputy Chief Minister of Karnataka, and at least we should be represented. And in UP, if you see the model of Chief Ministership, and you will find there is a caste model which is very much reflective, and it is also institutionalized and is also integrative. You will find people from different castes are accommodated as chief ministers and deputy chief ministers, because they represent a particular community or they represent a particular caste, and therefore to integrate all these people in a particular fold, and they will be with that particular political party, So they are given space, and therefore you have a chief minister and there are many number of deputy chief ministers. You got my point. So it is all institutionalized. How things are getting, or how your thinking or your act is getting institutionalized, and that integrates the entire system, and there will be no collapse of the system, or maybe that particular political party which has planned in this particular manner to keep people in their particular fold. I think in that way you can try to understand institutionalizations, and it is very important to understand. It also refers to stabilized pattern of interactions. When you talk about institutionalization, it refers to a kind of stabilized pattern of interactions which are normatively regulated by the cultural system. Now he's trying to talk about something else. But one thing you have to remember, when you are focusing on social system, you must think about institutionalization, and institutionalization takes place to make the entire social system in an integrated manner, and that also starts with some kind of interactions where your value orientations, your cultural practices, and your norms, and all these aspects also plays very, very important role. But the ultimate aim of any kind of situation is to get things institutionalized. So the actor's internalization also is very important while talking about institutionalization. That means actors has to be internalized the situations they are acting upon. So actors internalizations means what? The actors are in a positions to internalize or imbibe the values and the orientations they are intended to. So that will make the entire system integrated, and system and the social system can be functional at large. While talking about institutions, he talks about three types of institutions again. And these three types of institutions are also oriented or guided by the value orientations or value pattern of the society. What are these three types of institutions he is referring to? He is trying to talk about relational institutions. He is trying to talk about regulative institutions. He is trying to talk about cultural institutions. Clear? He is trying to talk about these three institutions. When you talk about relational institutions, it is about the constitutive of the patterning of interactive relationship. What he's trying to say, he's saying out of a particular interactions, a pattern is evolved. Actually, no system immediately go for institutionalization. All the cultural practices or the actions creates a kind of pattern. Creates a kind of pattern in the sense, actually these are the patterns of structural elements. You have to remember. But the structural elements are created out of interactions. But interactions in the second phase or in third phase or in subsequent phases may not be at last, but in subsequent phases that can create a kind of pattern. For example, let us look at a building, the construction of building. Suppose if you want to build a particular house, it has to be started somewhere else. Once you have started or you have done these foundations, that means you have initiated. So foundation itself is a kind of pattern. Clear? So it is not an end itself, but you have started when you have started keeping all these bricks together in a very ordered manner, a pattern is emerging. Otherwise there is no pattern. So a pattern starts like this. In society also it is like this. And it is all relational. It is related to relational institutions. That means you are in a position to relate with each other in a particular manner, and out of this a relational institution evolves. And what exactly I am trying to say, that relational institutions are important because it is part of the constitutive of the patterning of interactive relationship. That means out of interactive relationship, a pattern which has emerged, and that pattern itself is considered as relational institutions. What I've said, I've given the example of a particular building. I said that if when you have started, there was no building, but you have started this a particular at a particular level. You can say that now this this particular building has started. That means a particular pattern has emerged. Clear? And likewise in society also, when you started interacting with other people, and out of such interactions, a kind of pattern emerges. And that pattern can be called as friends, that can be called as a teacher-student relationship. What is the difficulties to understand this? Let me give some other examples. Relational institutions is most central kind of institutions, and they are directly constitutive of the patterning of interaction relationship. Think about tribal society, for example. If you have studied little bit of anthropology, tribal societies have their own socialization process, and there are certain terms which refers to the socialization process, and they also tries to give certain kind of training to their people. It may be having a relationship or learning how to go for hunting activities. What does it indicate? It indicates a kind of pattern of relationship, and it has been institutionalized. In the tribal societies, the term Gotul, for example, they used. What does it refers to? It refers to a pattern of relationship, and this relationship is being institutionalized in a particular manner. It may not be there in other societies, but in tribal societies, these things are considered to be a normal phenomenon, and it is relational institutions. And these relational institutions is linked with their family, kinship, and so on and so forth. You have to link, then only you can understand. There are many other concepts in tribal societies. You'll find these relational institutions, and these relational institutions are a kind of patterns which emerge out of it, but that link with larger institutions like family, marriage, and kinship. बेसिकली रिलेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन कुछ नहीं है, तो पैटर्न है. पैटर्न को हिंदी में स्वरूप कहते हैं ना. स्वरूप का निर्माण कैसे होता है? तो स्वरूप का निर्माण होने का स्वरूप वो फिजिकल ऑब्जेक्ट का हो सकता है, किसी वस्तु का हो सकता है, या सामाजिक संबंधों का हो सकता है. तो अगर वस्तु का निर्माण आप देखेंगे तो उसकी स्वरूप मैंने बताया, जैसे आप मकान बनाना स्टार्ट करते हो, वो मकान एकाएक नहीं बनता है. कोई एक हिस्सा मकान का बनना शुरू होता है, तब लगता है कि एक पैटर्न बना, जिसको हम नींव कहते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, ये एक पैटर्न है, तो उससे पता चल जाता है कि मकान किस प्रकार की बनेंगे. ठीक है. और उसकी जब से शुरुआत होती जाती है, एक पैटर्न बनता जा रहा है. ठीक है. उसी के ऊपर आप मकान का निर्माण बनता है. ठीक है ना. सो इट इज ऑल रिलेशनल. रिलेशनल इन द सेंस कि देखिए, अब जो भी छोटे छोटे यूनिट्स हैं, इकाईज हैं, तो इकाइयों को परस्पर जब हम क्रमबद्ध तरीके से सजा कर रखते हैं तो एक पैटर्न बनता है. ठीक इसी प्रकार जब हम सामाजिक संबंध में भी देखते हैं, तो सामाजिक संबंध में भी जब लोग परस्पर एक दूसरे के साथ जुड़ते हैं और बातें करते हैं, परस्पर के साथ मिलते हैं, तो उसमें से एक रिलेशनशिप का पैटर्न इमर्ज करके आता है. एक टर्म है, हम लोग किनशिप में पढ़ाते हैं ना, फिक्सिटिव किनशिप ऑल्सो. जैसे कि हम बस में ट्रैवल करते हैं, कहते हैं भाई साहब मेरा बैग जरा पकड़ लो, क्या वो तुम्हारा भाई है? रिलेशनल. और सोचता है थोड़ी देर के लिए हम बैठे हैं, बात कर रहे हैं, तो कुछ एक रिलेशन बन जाती है. नाउ डेज आजकल फेसबुक और व्हाट्सएप में भी लोग दोस्ती बना लेते हैं. फिर सो दिस इज कॉल्ड रिलेशनल. नो, आउट ऑफ रिलेशंस ए पैटर्न व्हिच इज इमर्जिंग, अ पैटर्न ऑफ फ्रेंडशिप, a pattern of relationship, and that relationship may leads to many other kind of relationship. So ये इस रूप में आप उसको समझना पड़ेगा. Relational institutions means pattern creations. How pattern is being created, and the pattern is being created out of interaction. Nothing is created out of blue. It is out of interactions. Out of interactions, I'll give you an example of the Kerala story, for example. Have you seen this movie? Very good. I'll give you an example of Kerala story, which will help you to understand. I don't know whether it is real or it is fictive, but what is being narrated in that particular story, that all of you, like those who are fed up with your family life and all that, you join particular institutions for your higher education, and you are very, very excited, isn't it? And out of this excitement, you join hostels, you get friends, and you are easily motivated by these friends, and you try to freak around, go around, enjoy, all that. So a pattern is emerging out of it, the relationship is emerging, and that relationship has taken you further. So it's created with a kind of interaction. So this is called pattern creation. Clear? So if you look at the initial aspect of it, you will find that a pattern of relationship is emerged, and out of the interactions, staying in the hostels, going around, and others plan something else that is different. But the point I'm trying to say, pattern of relationship has emerged. I think it has relational institutions. You can say in that way. Then the other one is regulative institutions. The regulative institutions means the institutions facilitating collective integrations through regulation, instrumental, expressive, and ego integrative interest. Now, how this pattern can be regulated? The pattern of relationship which has been created out of interactions, how this can be regulated? So it is regulated through collectively integrations, or it is through institutions facilitating through collective integrations. That means in the hostels, for example, there are regulations, there are rules, for example. Now, for example, many of our girls students, they demand that why the hostel timing is 8 o'clock or so. Why not it should be whole night? Why not it should be 10 o'clock and so on and so forth. You know, of course, if you make a comparison to JNU, you will find it is nobody bothers there. Clear? But to regulate your behavior, there are regulative institutions, or there are regulative norms, you can say. So norms are there that to regulate your behavior. You know, if there will be no norms, so your behavior will not be regulated. And if your behavior is not regulated, you know, for example, in private schools, if you have studied in private schools, if you speak in Hindi in private school, they impose fine. Very simple. They are not interested to take 10 rupees from you. No, they regulate your behavior, that if you are in the campus and you have to speak in English, by which your English and communicative skill can be improved. So regulative aspects and regulative institutions are there. If you talk about society, there are regulative institutions like your entire judiciary is regulative institutions, your police is a regulative institutions. But we are just saying that these institutions are there to regulate your behavior, to amend your behavior, by which society can be integrated in that sense. Without regulative behavior, society cannot be integrated. So regulation is very, very important. Discipline is also very, very important. If you are regulated, if you are disciplined, you can become a good man, or you can achieve, or you can target, you can get your target fulfilled, or you can get your goal achieved. So therefore, regulative institutions are there in society. And the third one is about the cultural institutions. Cultural institutions, I think you understand cultural institutions, and all these things part of institutionalizations, and it is part of social system. Apart from this, what I was interested to speak today is about pattern variables. Now, I talked about pattern, how pattern is built, but to make it much more clear, there is a duality and there is a dualism, there is some kind of contradictions which exist in the pattern itself, that Talcott Parsons is interested to talk about. He talks about affectivity versus affective neutrality. These are the pattern variables. I will not be explaining much. Maybe just I will give the 5 kind of pattern variables he is trying to suggest. One is called affectivity versus affective neutrality. The other one is called self-orientation versus collective orientations. Particularism versus universalism. Quality versus performance. Diffusionness versus specificity. So these are the patterns which has emerged, but within the pattern there is contradictions. But in the contradiction itself, where you are going to focus. Now, for example, affectivity versus affective neutrality. This is the first kind of pattern variables he is trying to suggest. And he is giving the example of soldiers, for example. The soldiers are expected to ignore immediate gratifications and be affectively neutral while performing their duties. The soldiers may be interested to go to their residence or to their vacation, go to their house to enjoy with their family, But no, they have to neutralize themselves. No, the war is going on, the situation is not good, so this is not the right time to take the leave, so leave will not be sanctioned. So they tries to amend their behavior by which they can work or they can contribute to protect us. So that is called affectivity versus affective neutrality. These both are important. Affectivity and affective neutrality are part of patterns, but these patterns are where it has to be focused. That's what Talcott Parsons is interested to talk about. Then he talks about self-orientation versus collective orientation. What is your self-orientations or what is the collective orientation? I think he focuses on collective orientation. For example, he gives the example of shopkeepers. And he said that the shopkeepers talk about or glorify about their product because it's self-interest. Now they want to sell their products, so therefore they glorify the products and they give sales talks and narrate all positive aspect about it. By which they just want to sell their products. That is called self-orientation. But think about a doctor. Of course, nowadays the doctors have also become like that, which is not correct. But doctors are supposed to tell to the patients very patiently that these are the situations with you and these are the things you have to follow, by which you can get rid of the problems, or if you don't follow, you will be always in trouble. But what is the collective orientation doctor needs to follow? Meaning thereby, they must tell you very candidly, without having any self-orientations, that if the patient will come to us regularly, so he or she will give the fees to us. So therefore, we'll ask him to visit after every month or after every 15 days or 20 days. But that is not actually doctor supposed to behave in this particular manner, because they cannot be self-oriented like the salesman. They need to be honest with their patients. Clear? So that is called self-orientation versus collective orientation. So that means you are oriented towards yourself, or you have to think about the collective masses. Then particularism versus universalism. What is called, you need to be very, very particularistic, or you need to behave in a universalistic manner or on the basis of universal principles. For example, a teacher is supposed to evaluate the students impartially, and he should not be particularistic while evaluating the students. Rather, he should have it in a universal principles. Now, if the students perform well, so they will be given good grades. Those who have not performed well, they will not be given good grades. But if somebody is biased and he doesn't uphold the universalistic values, then he tries to become particularistic. And the fourth one is about quality versus performance. While talking about quality, maybe you can think about quality as an individual, quality as you born in a particular family, and what are the ascribed status you carry with that. I think that is part of the quality. But he is saying it should be based on performance. Performance means if you perform better, or if you are doing well. So I think that should be given much more importance. But there is a contradiction in quality and performances in the context of racial superiority, caste superiority, and all these things affects the society. So there is a quality versus performances. The last point is about diffusionness versus specificity. Now, for example, he gives the example of employer and employees. So what is being specified for the benefit of employees, I think that is called specific. Clear? But think about your jamidari system, for example. Think about your master and lord systems. In that particular system, nothing is clearly spelled out. So it is diffused. So you may get the obligations from your masters, or you may not get the obligations from the masters. Or you may think about a number of obligations from the masters, not single obligation. But in a modern system, in an industrial system, there is a contract. Once you have signed the contract, so you are entitled to get these benefits. So it is specific, and the other one is diffused. So actually what Talcott Parson is trying to say, that society has all these elements or all these kind of patterns which exist, and it varies from situation to situation and varies from person to person and varies from context to context. I think in that particular context we have to understand the institutionalization and the pattern and the cognitive and cathectic and evaluative aspects what I've discussed so far. Thank you very much.